Welcome to your first online set of notes for World History 1 this year. This is how you will take most of your notes for our class, so get used to it. Put a bookmark on this YouTube channel so that you can get here easily and quickly. You're going to take notes today on the 5 themes of geography. You have a note sheet that you got in class that goes with this set of notes. It says 5 themes of geography at the top. You should be filling that out as we go. You're going to need to write down the definitions where they're blank and fill in examples. Some of the examples I'll give to you, and some of them you'll need to add to yourself as you go through the notes. So let's get started. When we talk about geography, it's a way to talk about the place where we are and what that place is like. And the first thing we have to do is say where we are. So that is called location. Location just means where something is. That could be a building, that could be a city, that could be a person. Where is that place? And there's 2 different ways that we can describe location. The first is called absolute location. This is where we use lines of latitude and longitude on the map to find where something is. Make sure that you write in your definitions before you move on in the video. If you need to press pause to write down, you can, and then go on when you're ready. So here are some examples of latitude and longitude lines, and this is how we find places using absolute location. We'll practice this together in class. You can see that the equator and the prime meridian are the 2 special lines of latitude and longitude. Latitude lines are the ones that go horizontal across your screen like this, okay? Latitude lays down is the way that I remember that. They sound the same to me. We can also use relative location to describe where something is, and this is where we describe where one place is in relationship to another place. So if I'm going to describe where Robert E. Lee High School is to someone who doesn't know where it is, I might say it's across the street from Springfield Mall. Here's Robert E. Lee High School, here's the mall, they're across the street from each other. I might say that Robert E. Lee High School is a few miles south of Washington, D.C. I might say that it is a few miles north of Woodbridge. So depending on what the person I'm talking to knows, I'm going to use that to tell them where something else is. When we talk about place, that's when we're describing what the location is like. And there's a couple different ways that we can do that. We can talk about the human characteristics of a place. Human characteristics are things like religion. Usually in different places in the world, we find that most people practiced one or a couple of religions. We can talk about language. Okay, people in the same place often speak the same language. Come up with one more example of a human characteristic to add to your note sheet. And then we have physical characteristics. This is when we describe what the land is like in a place. So take a look at this picture and write down what are some of the physical characteristics you see here. You might write about the mountains, the lake, the trees. And go ahead and add a physical characteristic that you see here. 2 very different places. Okay, then we have human-environment interaction. Human-environment interaction is how we use, adapt to, or depend on our environment. So it's what we people do to the environment that we are in. Some examples might be farming. Okay, we use land to farm to create food for ourselves, and we're going to talk soon about how people started farming and growing their own food. We also take land and drastically change it to build for our own purposes. Washington, D.C. is on land that used to be very swampy, and in order to build a city there, they had to fill in some of that land with dirt and then build a city there. That's why it's so hot and humid here in the summers, because we live basically on a swamp. Okay, when we take a bunch of places that have shared characteristics, whether those are human characteristics or physical characteristics, and we put them together, then we've formed areas that are called regions. So here's a map that shows you climate regions of the United States. It says this is what the temperature is like in these different places. And you can see at the bottom that this map was created specifically to help people figure out what kinds of plants to grow, okay? Where it says at the bottom, the climactic region in which you live affects the landscaping strategies you use. So we live up here, right on the border of this hot, humid, and temperate climate. And if I was to go plant a garden, then I would use that information to decide what is best to grow in this area. Or we can look at regions based on other characteristics. When we look at the Middle East, we're talking about a region that has some political things in common, a region that has some religious things in common, a region that has some linguistic, some language things in common. All of these are ways that we can group this political region that we call the Middle East, that we hear about so much in the news and we'll talk about a lot this year. Okay, and then we have movement. This describes how people, how stuff, goods, or ideas get from one place to another. So this could describe how you move from one place to another. This could describe how your cell phone got from its factory to your pocket. It could describe how the religion that you practice got from its place of origin to where you are today. Think about what modes of movement you have used today and write that down in the example section for this theme. Okay, did you get here on your feet? Did you get here in a car? Did you get here in a bus? Did you use some combination? Are you going to use other modes of movement today? The last thing that you need to do before you are done with this note sheet is fill out the bottom part where it says Mr. Help. What you need to do is identify which theme goes with each letter of this device to help you remember our themes of geography. So M stands for, fill it in on your note sheet. R stands for, fill it in on your note sheet. H and E are one theme together, so fill that one in. L and P. So you should have movement, region, human-environment interaction, location, and place. And when you have a quiz on these themes, you should use this device, Mr. Help, to help you remember the 5 themes of geography. Go back if you missed anything in the notes that you need to fill in. Make sure your notes are complete so that you can use them to help you with your classwork or quiz that will be based on them.